Last week, we initiated Unscripted to talk about all those controversial and taboo topics that are rather not spoken about. We live in a society where financial independence for women is still a far-fetched idea. Women are told to look after their house or their children, forget what their dreams and aspirations might be. We are here to talk what rights women should be given and what rights they are given.
My name is Aisha Satani and I'm here with Aksa Amjad. So as Aksa mentioned, women are given very few platforms to express their concerns and seek help where necessary. To talk about this further, I would like to introduce our guest star for today, Mrs. Kanwal Ahmed. She is the owner and founder of Soul Sisters Pakistan, as well as the host for Conversations with Kanwal. So how are you doing, Kanwal? How is quarantine going?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming. We're excited.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. So for viewers who may not know what Soul Sisters is, could you briefly explain to us what it is?
Yeah, sure. Soul Sisters Pakistan is a Facebook platform. We started in 2013. It was supposed to bring people from my surroundings into one community to talk about the things that nobody else was talking about. And back in 2013, you have to understand it was a very different internet. There was no like Instagram as such. There was no, there were no big YouTubers in Pakistan. There wasn't even much, activity in this regard on Facebook.
Yeah.
So when this group came about, it was the first of its kind, where women were, just coming up and talking about so many different things that are usually very like, even today, they're kept very hushed and secret.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little bit about what Soul Sisters is and how it started.
For something as big as Soul Sisters in Pakistan, what do you think was their inspiration behind launching such a great project?
So I was around 23 or 24 when I started it. And I had just gotten married. I was living abroad. When you're growing up, when you're in your teens, like in your late teens, a lot of us start realizing things that are happening around us. When we're kids, we never really pay attention. We just think that, oh, this is probably normal. Like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. It affects you, but you don't sit and you don't think about it. But when you start reaching your late teens, as I'm assuming you guys are now, you start like reflecting on certain things and you wonder, like, this doesn't feel right. ये होना नहीं चाहिए लेकिन ये हो रहा है, right? Like these things sometimes occur, and then when you go and you question an adult about it, they're like नहीं नहीं ऐसे ही होता है, इसी तरह से चला आ रहा है, ऐसे ही होता है, इसमें कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. And they sort of try to like shut you up, shut you off, which I guess is the way things are. But as you grow older, and for someone like me, even as a teenager, I used to blog and I used to always question things a lot. So for me, it was sort of like, there's so many things that we can't really talk to our, families about. There's so many things we can't even talk to our instant circle about. Sometimes you need that third person who doesn't know you, who doesn't have any personal biases against you, and who probably doesn't even know you. So you can say whatever the hell you want and open up and really communicate, and also get to know that, oh my god, like this person also thinks the same way as me. So that means that I'm not the only one who thinks this way. And that's what the space was initially supposed to be, a space where we didn't all know each other, but we all wanted to discuss things that affected us at some level or the other.
So, and then continuing, so now last year you started Conversations with Kanwal, and I've honestly watched every single episode, loved it as well.
Me
so
too.
How did you actually get the funding from Facebook? Like, what did you tell them? Like, how did it work?
So for Facebook, I was like in 2018, Facebook posted this what do you call it, like a fellowship, right? Like when you announce a scholarship or a fellowship, Facebook decided to announce one. They said that communities are our fastest growing product, ग्रुप्स हमारे बहुत अच्छे चल रहे हैं, लोग फेसबुक पे आते ही ग्रुप्स यूज करने के लिए, because Facebook otherwise isn't like, even for the rest of us now, we don't usually use it for other reasons that we used to in 2007, 8.
Yeah.
Now we use it so that we can engage in our favorite groups. So they noticed this and they said that, okay, let's see like how we can support people who have started groups. So they put up like a fellowship application.
Yeah.
And मैंने like a friend of mine, he tagged me and he said that you should go for it, like I've seen your journey and it's been phenomenal, so go for it. I applied. There were several other communities from Pakistan, they all applied, and it was a very long process, like around 6 months or so, and then eventually I got selected for it. And it's just exactly like how you would do a university application, कि आप पहले फॉर्म फिल करते हैं, फिर उसके बाद एसेज होते हैं, फिर इंटरव्यूज होते हैं, फिर जो जो चीजें मांगते जाते हैं आप भेजते जाते हैं वो, ठीक है. सो दे डू लाइक अ वेरी रिगरस चेक. एंड फॉर फेसबुक एज वेल, इट वाज द फर्स्ट टाइम फेसबुक वाज डूइंग समथिंग लाइक दिस. दे हैड नेवर डन such a big fellowship sort of thing before. So for them also it was the first time. Anyway, so then they chose 115 people from around the world. So around, I think 15 were like people who were under the age of 18. So they were all high school students and like your age type people. And then the rest of the 100 people were people from all age groups across all sectors across the world. So so Soul Sisters Pakistan and I were chosen, and within that fellowship, they said that if you have something that you think can further the mission of your community, something that you think कि आज यहाँ पर है तो इस चीज से मेरी community वहाँ पहुँच जाएगी. If you have an idea like that, so bring it to us. And if your idea is approved, so we'll give you a grant as part of this fellowship. So I had wanted to do a talk show for a really long time, like since 2016, but I didn't have the money for it, and I could not even convince people that this sort of show is going to work, because you know what kind of content works in Pakistan. So and I didn't. Everybody was like, "यार तुम mobile phone से बना लो, आजकल तो हर चीज बन जाती है mobile phone से, blah blah blah." But I was like, if I want to challenge what is shown on TV or what is shown in mainstream media, then I have to hit a certain production quality. Varna phir it's like, yes, there are lots of great shows and podcasts and stuff now, but I wanted the show to be something that was easily viewable for everybody. A lot of people don't listen to podcasts. A lot of people don't watch certain kind of shows, but I wanted this to be relatable across the board. So I pitched in this idea and Facebook loved it, and they said that, okay, you take this funding and you can go and produce your series. So that's what I did. I hired a production house, I hired a small team, and then we made the series.
Alhamdulillah, that's great. We love watching it with your fans.
Yeah. So in Pakistan, कि racism exists. ठीक है, यहाँ पे वो black and white वाली debate नहीं है, but I think so that's the point कि women should have lighter skin tones to fit in. वो वाली debate है. So how do you think racism or these skin tone debates affect the mental health of a woman? And what message would you like to give to the brands who are promoting racism in Pakistan?
Okay, so racism and colorism are like two separate topics, but colorism is a product of racism. It's like a sub-group or a sub-product, as you would say. And Pakistan mein colorism bahut zyada hai. And that is because we are inherently racist, because we view a certain skin color is good and a certain skin color is not that great, right? So and this is again something that it goes back to when we are kids and we're growing up, and that fair child gets picked out by the teacher and given the best role in a school play. I mean, मेरे सामने हुआ है जो सबसे like गोरी लड़की होती थी क्लास में, उसको जो स्कूल के प्लेज होते थे उसमें सबसे ज्यादा बेस्ट रोल्स मिलते थे. And as we're growing older as well, the darker colored girls in the family get told टोटकास्ट के बेटा ये लगा लिया करो, ये कर लिया करो, तो तुम्हारी स्किन चेहरा पे नूर आ जाएगी या निखार आ जाएगा या ग्लो आ जाएगा. A lot of brands try to also hide behind the glow, the word glow, क्योंकि आजकल बहुत ज्यादा सब फेयर पे उनको कर रहे हैं, तो उसके पीछे उन्होंने ग्लो लगा दिया आपके. But they basically promoting the same thing, that, you know, a certain skin color is not good enough. And we're brown, like we have to deal with it. Even if we rub like 50,000 things, the brownness is never going to go away. We may as well learn to love it, and that's how it should be. And for me, this is something that I have been at war with.
All right. So as I was saying that, so we found out a study by the United Nations showed how married Pakistani women, 50% of them are sexually abused, and 90% of them are psychologically abused. So now, because of the whole lockdown situation, we know the cycle of violence is going on even more because women don't have anywhere else to go. Like a few days ago in the news or whatever, it was a journalist killed his own wife. So our question to you is, what advice would you give to a woman going through a situation like this at home, or a fellow student whose parents are going through it, or anything like that? What would you advise them?
Okay. So this is a pretty complicated topic. इसमें बहुत layers होते हैं. हर बंदे की situation और उनकी you know, giving them advice is very dependent on their situation, like where they are financially, where they are socially, do they have family backing, do they not have family backing. You know, you'll be surprised to know that a lot of women, and I'm not saying just women from a certain socioeconomic class, women from across the board, they are not independent in any way. And simple things such as CNIC cards, passport, birth certificate of their children, marriage documents, they're all with their husband.
Yeah.
So even leaving the house and not having these documents is like a big question mark, number one. Number two, most women, unfortunately in Pakistan, also do not have financial independence.
Yeah.
Number three, यहाँ पर cases जो होते हैं, like court cases, child custody cases, court cases, they are like, they take years and years. The battles are so you know, so intense and so draining, and draining emotionally be, financially be, because you're paying for those, right? So when a woman is in a situation like this, she has to weigh everything. Sometimes it's more dangerous for her to immediately leave the house as opposed to stay inside.
Yeah.
Because if she instantly just runs out or leaves or overnight runs to a shelter, so the fact that the person can go after her, or the person can do some sort of other harm to her or her children, is worse than what can happen if she is at home. So that's why I'm very cautious when it comes to giving advice. I'm not an expert, but I do like to refer people to the right people. Like, for example, if somebody comes up to me and says, you know, I'm in an abusive marriage, मेरे साथ ये हुआ है, अभी ये हुआ है, I know that many times it's not even wise for her to call the police, because when the police comes, her abuser can also manipulate her into telling the police कि अभी कुछ भी नहीं हुआ, आप चले जाएं, गलती से फोन हो गया था. And then when they leave, उसके बाद जो वो हशर करेगा, that would be worse, right? So sometimes you really have to think these things through. आप किसी को ऐसी advice नहीं दे सकते, बहुत सोच समझ के देना पड़ता है. And that's why I really like referring people to certain family lawyers, because family lawyers have seen and been through a lot. They know कि भाई इस situation में मैं इसको किस तरह help करूं. I know कि आज मैं से ये बात करूंगी कि बेटा तुम अपनी jewelry और अपने जितने भी documents हैं उनको कहीं safe रख लो. फिर 3 दिन बाद आके मुझे बताना कि okay, this job is done, then we'll come to the next step and so on. So yeah, I'm not going to give any advice, but I'm going to say that definitely reach out. Don't assume, unless you have a very strong like family backing and you know that as soon as you leave the house your family will take over, you know, they'll protect you and they'll make sure like everything goes smoothly. You have to take your next steps very wisely. However, one thing you can do is have a code word and give that code word to, you know, some friends or some family members around you, so that you know कि अगर if things start going or escalating to a level that you think oh they're going to end up badly, you can send that code word to them. So there should be like a danger word or a code word or something जो सबको पता हो, आपके जो close friends या आपकी family हैं.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, that could actually help anyone, you know, and anybody going through stuff like that.
Yeah.
Also, हम लोगों के अंदर तो मतलब ये तो problems हैं. They're like great repercussions of being there or fighting against abuse. बट बहुत सारे माइंडसेट्स भी ऐसे हैं कि इट्स ओके कि आपका एक
the woman should be
हस्बैंड है,
going
इट्स
through
ओके
it.
टू
Yeah,
हैव अ अब्यूजिव रिलेशनशिप. सो आई थिंक सो हमें वो भी चेंज करना चाहिए.
the
सो
mind.
लाइक एनीथिंग
Definitely.
Yeah,
एनीथिंग यू वांट टू टॉक अबाउट द अब्यूजिव रिलेशनशिप का माइंडसेट कि भाई सही है, मार ही रहना, क्या कर रहे हो.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Like that mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately in our society, I think if you saw season 1, episode 1 of Conversations with Kanwal, it was on physical domestic violence. And उसमें यही होता है कि जब the girl is only like 18 when she gets married, my guest, Adila, and when she does get married, so I think the first time, like she has an argument with her husband, he slaps her, right? And when he slaps her, she's shocked, and then her mother-in-law comes and takes her to the other room and says कि देखो कुछ नहीं होता, ऐसा तो चलता रहता है और अम्मी अब्बू को फोन करने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. And then the like this starts escalating. This becomes like problematic. It becomes, you know, a cycle of abuse, to the point that even when she's like 6-7 months pregnant, he drags her across the room and beats her up. और उस पे भी उसकी सास उसे ये कहती है कि चुप रहो, कुछ नहीं हुआ. And this is unfortunately very common. Like sometimes even on Soul Sisters, you will see there will be like, you know, 2 or 3 people who are coming in on very like abusive posts and saying stuff like, "Huh, like this is normal," like because. But we also have to understand that this is the mentality they've grown up with. They've probably borne like 25-30 years of abuse, and now they think that they are successful because 30 साल बाद जाके abuser जो है अब थक चुका है, बुढ़ा हो गया, अब मारता नहीं है. But imagine they've spent their entire lives getting abused, and now they think that okay, after 30 years it stops, so now it's good. It's not good. You wasted your whole life being abused, and I'm sorry for that. And that is not something that you can pass on to future generations. And
And he really deserves to
this
go
is
through that, right? Like if you can
yeah,
find help, then people should, like if you can, then they should at least reach out. You know.
हाँ, और बहुत सारी वुमेन बच्चों की वजह से रुक जाती हैं, और मुझे लगता है कि सबसे ज्यादा अफेक्ट इसका बच्चों पे पड़ता है. आपके बेटे इसको सीख के अपनी बीवियों के साथ क्या करेंगे, आपकी बेटियां इसको सीख के अपने
Like
शौहरों
they
का
will
भी
learn कि हाँ कि
बर्दाश्त
उसको
नहीं.
बस it's okay. Yeah.
and just yesterday I was talking to a girl and she messaged me after the Zara case because I posted about Zara. And she messaged me that, Kaval, do you want to save someone who's going through Zara's situation right now? And I was like, yeah, of course. She was like, it's me. So I said, okay, tell me, what can I do? And she was like, yeah, you know, I want to get out. He abuses me, etc., etc. तो मैंने उसको सारी guidelines बता दी कि देखो तुम इससे बात करो, इसको call करो, इस lawyer को भी फौरन. And then, you know, these are the steps you can take. And she was like, yeah, I can do all of that, but then what about my sons? You know, they're very attached to their dad. And what will they do without a father? So even to make mothers understand that no, your children will not benefit from a house like this where abuse is the norm, right? And it's not just physical abuse, emotional abuse भी बहुत ज़्यादा है, उसको तो कोई भी recognize नहीं करता. If they come and they talk about it, तब तो सबसे ज़्यादा पंगा होता है, because those women are called complainers. कि अरे भाई तुम तो हर बात पे शिकायत कर रही हो, ये तो कुछ भी नहीं कर रहा है, ये तो सिर्फ इस तरह से बोल रहा है. And not just within safe spaces, outside of the community, like outside of Soul Sisters Pakistan, इस बारे में इतनी बात होती है कि अरे इन लड़कियों से तो पूरा दिन बस जना शिकायतें करवा लो. They don't understand that this is not a शिकायत, this is something that's emotionally torturous. अगर आपका husband आपको आपके अम्मी के घर जाने से मना कर रहा है, that is emotional abuse, that's mental abuse. You can't stop somebody. You didn't marry her and sign a slavery contract. You don't own her as a property. If your husband isn't allowing you to work, that is not normal. That is abuse. You have, as a human, a certain set of rights that you are entitled to, and nobody can stop you from, you know, utilizing those rights. If you have a right over your body, you have a right over the way you want to spend your time. These and if you for like especially in our society, अगर कोई इस बारे में बोल दे कुछ तो भाई ये तो है ही शिकायती, इससे तो काम है कि जाके लोगों के सामने रोना धोना डाले. But that's not true. अभी आजकल सबसे ज्यादा फेमस ड्रामा जो चल रहा है झूठी वूटी के नाम से, उसमें दिखाते ये है कि जो लड़की है वो झूठ बोलती है कि मेरा हस्बैंड मुझे मारता पीटता है. And that's crap. Like in a society that already trivializes domestic abuse, आप further उनको यही दिखा रहे हैं कि औरतें झूठ बोलती हैं, अपने ऊपर पेंट कर देती हैं और बोलती हैं कि देखो मुझे चोट लग गई. What?
Yeah, it's not giving the right image at all, right? Like this media system.
Yeah.
So हमारा जो corporate world है, it's dominated by men. Okay, CEO positions, अब ज़्यादातर big positions, businesses, सब ज़्यादातर आदमी handle करते हैं. According to research, about 31% of women earn less than men on average. तो इस wage gap के बारे में आप क्या comment करेंगी?
So I'm not an expert on this, but obviously, like, this is extremely common. And in every industry, it's not even just in, high level positions, it's also in mid-level, lower level positions, every single place, even here in the West. I'm in Canada right now, यहाँ पे भी wage gap की इतनी बात की जाती है. If a man and a woman are hired for the same position, they will be paid much lesser than their counterparts. I think Bollywood तक में ये वाली बात इसका topic उठा था कि the female actors such as Deepika and Priyanka get paid a lot less. I don't recall exactly, but imagine even those level ki jo actors and they even face this issue that they are much more famous, they have more following, they have more power, but even then they're paid less than the men. So it's something that needs to be massively worked on, and I don't even know when we'll get there. I mean, to think about it, we're in 2020 and this is still happening. I just don't know how many battles are we supposed to fight, right? Like, there's so much, and at the end of the day, the funniest thing is when you bring up these issues and then people say, you know, कि अच्छा तुम लोग की अब शिकायतें खत्म हो गई, इतनी तो अच्छी जिंदगी है, इतना तो हम करते हैं, इतना तो तुम लोग के लिए परफेक्ट है, इतना तो ये मिल रहा है, खुश नहीं होना, लेकिन बस तुम लोग को शिकायतें करनी है. We're not doing शिकायत. This is not equality. This is not right. Like,
Okay, so we could go on talking about this for hours, and I'm sure you could as well. But since we are on a time limit, what advice, on a last note, what would you advise any young girl or young woman going through any of the issues that we mentioned? Like, what would you say to anybody watching this podcast as a woman?
I would say find your voice. Right now is a really good time for you to do that, and don't be afraid of using it. There are so many things that the world right now wants you to be. When you open Instagram, when you open YouTube, when you open Facebook, there's so many different versions of the person you can be, and sometimes that person is not you. So find who you truly are and then be that, and don't be afraid to show it. Yeah, so that's what I would say to the girls who are watching.
Yeah, thank you, girls. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Aisha and Aksa.
Thank you.
Thank you for being there.
We
Thank
hope
you
to
for
collaborate with you in the future as well to further
Same.
about issues. So hope we can do that. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
जितनी इक्वालिटी वुमेन के पास डिकेट्स पहले थी उससे तो कहीं ज़्यादा है अब हमारे पास, लेकिन that's still not the milestone. We still need to work hard. We still need to make that change. For all those women out there, as Kanwal mentioned too, seek help. Talk to people and be there. And as a society, we should be there and fight for the rights of the women that they should be given. So in the end, Adopt an Orphanage recognizes the importance of women empowerment as a topic. So we have organized a creative writing and art competition, Magicking. All the Nexus students are sent the e-forms for it, and you can send your art and creative writings to us, and we await your participation, and the top 3 will get amazing and surprising prizes in each contest. So yes, Team Adopt an Orphanage waits your participation.
Thank you for joining us today. This was Unscripted, and we're signing off.